Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today we are in our third in this series on rebuilding the structure on this hood from this low mileage vintage drag car that we call the Forsyth Duster. In our last two episodes, we've done a bunch of stuff. So let's get you up to speed on that, and then we'll pick it up right after you get the overview. One of the challenges of doing projects like this on YouTube is what do I share and what do I not share? When it comes to fabricating, there's a lot of stuff that's really redundant, and I'll say it again, it's redundant. The thing is, I know that not everybody sees every episode, so I'm always trying to find a mix and a balance of what do I show again and again, and what do I show occasionally, and what do I skip because I've showed it so many times. But there are a lot of little details in stuff like this that I think a lot of channels don't share. For example, in working on this, we've loosened up all kinds of rust scale down in here that we need to clean up. So we're going to do that real quick. We'll get out our vacuum and, well, it's a job that sucks, but it's got to be done. All of this is just from banging around on the hood and working on it up in here, and it's loosened up all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get that cleaned up. All right, there we go on that. So the next thing we want to do, I've got a couple more spots. I need to finish this spot right here, and there's a patch over in here I need to make, and that should take care of everything. There's one little teeny pinhole up there I might fix over, I forget where it's at. That should take care of all the fabrication that we need to do as far as I know. We do have a rubber strip that I want to take off up there, but we've got a couple of other things we're going to be doing, whether we get to them on this episode or the next one, but I do want to lay it out. I picked up some Evapo rust, and we're going to try that on the inside of this hood and see how it works, which reminds me, I had paintbrushes. So we're going to give that a shot. And the other thing that we're going to do is I picked up a couple pieces of 1 inch by 1/8 inch, and we're going to try to put these down in here to reinforce this hood. So let me bring you around and explain my scenario here. Because this was a major structure piece on this hood that keeps this hood from buckling, and it was messed up, and because this is 24 gauge steel in here, even though I replaced it with 18, I'm concerned about the strength of the welds in here, and I don't want to damage this hood any more than necessary. I don't want to damage it at all. So my idea was, if we were to put some pieces of strap in here like this that go behind the hood hinge, and they're welded in and slotted for, of course, where they go, and then welded all up in here, that's going to give some nice strength to this hood. I don't know if my angle here is right or not. We're going to find that out right now. Line that up at the back of the bolt hole. Check our gap here and see how the other side is. So it's exactly as I suspected. This hood is still pretty bent on this side. Oops, I got that trapped in there. And that's why I didn't. Well, all right, that's under there now. Anyway, so that's why I had clamped this down like when I welded this in here, but I haven't welded this yet for this very reason. So we're going to pull this in place and see how it comes out. Oh, it's still got a lot of curvature in there. I don't want to assume the issue may be that the inner structure is not the same, but on that one it's almost perfectly flat. So, and because I know this side of the hood was bent, we got to really get this sorted out before we start welding more. So here's what I've learned. This inner structure is bent. Makes sense because that was rusty and twisting around. So it's actually high here and makes this seem different than it really is. So I took my piece of flat stock and I put it out here and I lined up my fingers on that hole right there, and I got about a 1/4 inch on both ends with this squeezed down like this. So that's pretty close to the other side. I think that's going to be good right there. So I'm curious to see how this moves in here when I loosen it. It doesn't. So that's going to be an issue for which where's it flexing? Right back there, huh? We may have to throw this hood back on the car before we get too far and see how it's going to line up. I'm concerned about that. Curvature here, not looking right. We may have to try to put this in and really bend it down some more. So I can't say this enough. When you are looking for bent metal, bent panels, things like that, take your time, investigate, look at it from all kinds of different angles, and eventually the issue will show up if you're paying attention, and it did. The issue is right here, and there's a telltale sign here I'll show you. I'm going to bring you down here with me so you can see what I saw to realize that this panel is basically bent from here there, which is causing a lot of our issues. That's going to be an interesting challenge to straighten out, but I got some ideas on how we can do it. So if you look here, when you're following this contour, so as we're coming along this edge here, we're doing fine until we get right there. And then you can see all of a sudden this panel goes like that. If you look at the other side, it's not like that. And I didn't notice that right here, there's a dimple, which that's the indicator right there. It's a crushed indicator. It's popped out because this back piece here is like this. Once this is pulled down in place, that will be straightened. So a mistake a lot of guys would make was say, oh, that's got a dimple right there. Let's take a hammer and pound that in. That is not going to straighten this out. But straightening this out will remove that dimple. Remember that the goal here is preservation. We're trying to preserve this side of the hood without doing any paint work. So we've got to get that out of there without causing any damage on this side. And so that is a challenge. But I got an idea of how we may be able to accomplish that. So let's see if we can get things set up here, and we'll see how they go. This is a crapshoot at best because we could really cause some damage here. So what we're going to do, we can't get back in here. We've got to work just with the edge, right? If we get back in here, we're going to dent this. What we're going to do is take this, put the edge of it right here at the crease. Okay, so the crease is right here. I'm basically putting the edge of my 2x4 right there. And I'm as close to the edge as I can be within reason. I don't appear to be causing any damage, but I need 2 gloves because this edge of this hood is really sharp. Okay, so we're going to it's getting better. I don't think we're causing any damage. Maybe we can go this way. Again, we want to stay. Well, too much. Too much is not enough. There we go. A little straighter. There we go. Right on the edge. Living on the edge. Sounds like Aerosmith. We're not putting any dent in there. And our edge is getting flat. Now it's to the point that I feel like I could put some pressure on this and tap this and get more of that out. But I want to compare it to the other side and see exactly where we're at here. So with no pressure on this at all, using my hole here as my basic center. Ish, I'm not trying to be perfect. We're a little over a 1/4 inch back there. We're about a 1/4 inch up there. Close enough. Where's our hole? Again, we're just using a hole for a reference point. Yeah, it's got a little more to go. We're about a 1/4 inch on the front and a little under a 1/4 on the back. But we are within 1/8 of an inch now. So it's just taking your time. I don't know if tapping this may help now. There's a point at which putting the tension back into the metal to help hold things in place can make a difference. So what I'm going to try to do, I think, is put some down pressure on this. Let me get my other glove right there so we keep from cutting into my side. I'm going to put down pressure on that. Oh yeah, that did it. Now let's see if our edge is right. Boy, it sure feels pretty good. So what may have been happening, because we got it bent back part way, but because this metal wasn't pulling back all the way, it may have been actually pulling this back up, which probably is what was happening. Now let's find our little hole right there. Okay, and I'm going to line this up again with the back edge, basically at the back of this hole. A little over a 1/4 inch on the front, less than a 1/4 inch on the back. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, using this as a datum point, the back edge of this visually lined up with that. This hole here where my hand is holding it for a center pivot point, and then seeing what the gap is on the front. A little over a 1/4 inch on the front. It's still a little bit bent over there. This stuff is tedious. It takes time. And that was our spot right there. Just don't want to go too far and bend it the other way. Little bounces. There's another little buckle right there. We are pretty close. I'm going to say good enough. We're not expecting perfection. Yeah, it's off ever so slightly, but golly, I don't know. I'm just afraid of trying to go too much more, because all of a sudden this thing can just go south on me in a hurry. I'm going to try that back there just a little bit. Yeah, if we keep that up, we're going to end up denting it. So I think we need to call it quits. Well, we're good. We are right on the money. Calling that good. Again, this is an old drag car. We're not trying to do a concourse restoration, but we want panels to line up decent. So I'm comfortable with that. Now let's take our piece on the inside. Yeah, that's the funny part of this. I think this in here is bent way up also. So let me try to move that down a little bit, and that's going to help us. Oh, definitely. 100%. Oh. Yep. Yep, 100%. So I think when we weld that, what we could do is try doing this. It's still a 1/4 inch in here, and on the other side it's only 1/8 of an inch, but I'm not convinced that because of the way this bent all up. I don't think I better go any more than that. I'm really nervous about going more than that. It's just I wish it fit as good as the other side does, but I really think the inner panel is part of the problem, because the outside is pretty good. So Said the only way we're going to know is set it on the car. So we'll do that in a while, but I want to get more of this put together. I just did a little bit more off-camera investigation, and I found the issue. Right in here, this is actually splayed out a little bit, not much, and that's causing this to have a little bit of a more bow in here. When I looked at it from the back side, looking down the edge, it's really close, but I can definitely see looking here, that's splayed out a little bit. This one definitely is not. And what's going to happen is, as I just tweak this back in, it's going to pull this just a little teeny bit flatter in here. So yeah, I got to find my one special clamper thing that I use for that kind of stuff. And we're just going to go along the center and taper that up just a bit. Okay, here we go. Not much, just little teeny bits, right? 100%, definitely. Much better. It's got a little whoop right there. Much better. Much better. Let's look at her from the back. It's got a nice gradual curve all through. I still feel like this corner could come down a little bit more. Boy, I don't see where it would be though. Go see the other side. Nope, I think we're good. They both look the same. So with an eyeball, I think they're the same. And remember, with a hood, you've got lots of latitude and adjustment to bring the front stop up just a little bit. And, you know, there's room to wiggle in there. So I think that's good enough for this car. I don't want to go too far and end up ruining something. So I've been sitting here with a razor blade, just carefully trimming down my template for this here. We're really close. We'll make our metal piece just a teeny bit bigger up in this area here. I gotta get a marker, but up in that area there. But we're really close to being good there, I think. So yeah, as a matter of fact, we may just make this whole edge bigger up here. But it's pretty good. So I think we need to tap this back just to... I like that better. Okay, that fits much better now. Okay, yep, so let's get this transferred over to this piece of 18 gauge. Figure out the best way to make it here. Conserve metal. Probably there. All right. Comparing that to my template, we're close. It's a little bit big, which I prefer because then I can snuggle it in as I want. Probably the next thing we need to do is get our bend in there where it belongs. So let's get that sorted out here real quick. There we go. Okay, in this case, I'm using my left. And I'm going to take a little out of here. That's paper thin in there anyway, so... It's going to be really hard to weld there anyway, so... Okay, that just made my life just a little bit easier right there. Okay, I'm going to get my marker now and mark where I want to make the bend. And then we'll start doing some fitting in there. I think our bend needs to go from here to there. And it's kind of a bend that gets wider the further it goes. You can see where we're at here. Although this bend is a little bit tight compared to that. I'm okay with that, especially since we're putting some thicker metal in there as far as putting that 1/8 inch piece. So let's see. Yeah, like that. Okay, so we want to go like that to there. All right, let's take this over to the metal brake and I'll bend it up. I'll be right back. I ended up a little shy there though. How'd I do that? No, I think we're okay. Boy, it really did end up just a Nova Hosha shy right. Oh, I know why. Duh. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Okay, now we need to trim off the bottom. You know what? I'm going to take and just tink this a little bit, move everything that way. I'll put it in the vise and I'll just a little bit and knock that way. All right, that's what we got at this point. So I'm going to have to start just kind of hammer welding gently in place and tweaking it to fit. But got to pull it out and paint the back side of it before I forget. And then we're going to go ahead and start welding that in and getting it fitted. Just kind of hammer drawing it in a little bit. Little bit thin in here, but I'm not going to mess with it. I know there's a couple little teeny pits in there, but it's so thin on that 24 gauge going into that 8. I had to go back twice and touch it up, and I know if I grind it, it's just going to go away, and my guts tell me, leave it alone. There's a little bit right there I got to touch, but I think overall we're good, so I'm going to go back and hit that real quick. But overall, I'm comfortable with that. I feel good about it, and of course, we're going between, I think the seam, I can't even tell where the seam was in. See, I'm looking for it up here. The seam was here. So that turned out really nice. You can't even tell that. And that's 18 gauge to 18 gauge. So you got a lot of room to work in there. But going from this 18 to this 24 is a challenge and a half. Oops, there's another little spot right there. Like I said, it's man, I could bring it way back down in here, but what difference is it going to make? It's this is the nature of the beast here. So a couple more things to touch up, but I think we're golden. Just as a side note, with all of our banging around today, look how much more dirt we shook loose. Anyway, turned out good. I'm not going to do any more than that. There's one little teeny pit hole there, but I think I'm going to leave that. I know if I go in there and start hitting it, it's going to melt away. And sometimes you just got to cut and say that's enough. Overall, that's pretty good. So let's hit that with some primer. And also, while I was waiting for things, I was up here playing with some Evapo Rust. So we're going to get that cleaned up. That's been on there for about 45 minutes now, and we'll see how that looks. Well, I think overall that's pretty good. Like I said, there's a few little spots. We could put a little tiger hair over that or something. We probably will. But overall, I think that looks pretty good. And our Evapo Rust did a nice job up here. I just took a wire brush and loosely did it, and I just kept brushing it on there for about 45 minutes. I'm sure if I left it on there longer, it would do better. But if I was to go over that right now with some just a patina treatment, it would look amazing. And I don't want to do that because I don't want to put linseed oil on it because I'm not exactly sure what we're doing yet. But we loosened up all that scale and soaked it with evapor rust, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. So whether we use shine juice or Poppy's patina or clear coat or you know what, I got some clear. Let's just throw some clear on there real quick because that won't matter. That won't affect anything. There we go on that. I like that. So imagine this rusty stuff is got this hue to it. And then we're in here with this green, which I'm going to get some duplicolor green or maybe a quart of this color. What is the code? I looked. Hold on. Yes, it's EF8 green, which is a kind of a jade metallic green color. So imagine that we touched up our spots like this with rattle can and then hit our rusty spots like that. That would look really super amazing. Preserve the patina of it all, but still make it look good. On the outside of the car, that's not what I'm going to do, but on the under the hood, this may be a really good way to go. So we'll see. I don't know if I can get, I would like to get some enamel or I mean some lacquer and just do it in my touch-up gun on the car itself, stuff like that. But you know, there's spots we're going to have to obviously touch up where we're going to put panels in, but a lot of this stuff we're going to just leave like it is. So we'll see. There's some spots like this on the car where we will definitely touch that up because it's rusting, but under the hood, we're not sure what we're doing yet. You know, we got patches and fenders and stuff like that to do, but all of it's easily doable, just takes time. We got to get this done in here first. That's all I got time for today. It's Christmas Eve. It's in the evening and we have gatherings and things to be dealing with today. So we'll come back to this in our next episode. Next episode, we're probably going to work on the patch over there and maybe work on this, but a lot of good stuff done, getting this hood straightened out, coming up with a plan. I like the way the evapor rust worked. This turned out pretty respectable, so it's good to go. All right, I got to rock and roll and party every day. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, because it's important. My hair's a mess. Rock!